Hey everybody, welcome back to OneRoomOver Gaming. Today I'm playing Crimson Gray again, and I didn't think I'd be playing this anymore, but a new game came out, Crimson Gray Dusk and Dawn, and I believe it takes place basically right after the last one, or very soon after, so we're gonna play it. People seem to like this. Oh, here you go. This game is a direct sequel to Crimson Gray. Will make less sense if you didn't play the first one. Reviewed the story for so far. I played the first one. I played it. I died. I beat it. Achievement unlocked. So, right afterwards, the melancholy melody echoed within her, and Lizzie clung to it. Back here with Lizzie and John, there was a time when the melody hadn't been within her, though she preferred not to think about that time. That was before she met him. The melody was sad, but it was his, and so she loved it, and it was certainly better than emptiness. Lizzie had expected that meeting her special person would change everything, and it had, but to her surprise, it hadn't happened all at once. Instead, they both grew and changed, their life together becoming ever more wonderful, and her mind growing to encompass it. Yet she had a difficult time pinpointing exactly when she had first heard the melody. It would have been romantic if it had appeared at some momentous occasion, such as when she met him, or when they first made love, or on some future day when they were finally married, but instead it slowly emerged, whispering at the edges of her mind. Smiling to herself, Lizzie began to contemplate the beginnings of the melody more thoroughly, but at that moment, her world was disrupted by two people approaching her. "Hey, people!" Her eyes flickered over their substanceless bodies, analyzing everything about them. She distantly knew the girl's name, had only seen the boy on several occasions, both sophomores like John and her. Honestly, I'm just proud that Lizzie's in college right now, because when we first met her, that was a windy-ass road. No physical threat. I don't think anything... If you haven't watched me play through, or someone play through the first Crimson Gray, or play through it yourself, this could be really spoiler-rich, so maybe do that real quick. It doesn't have to be me, it could be anyone, just watch it, it's worth it. I don't think anyone is a physical threat to Lizzie after what the hell we've seen. She took down, like, CIA dudes. Lizzie had seen the two of them holding hands on campus screen, and, from pupil dilation, judged them to be a couple. Okay. So unlikely to be a threat to her relationship, but now that they were approaching her, she put on her usual smile and considered them more carefully. Perhaps they want a threesome. Perhaps they want an orgy. The boy was normal enough, but the girl, she was rather pretty, and that's not okay, apparently. And she dressed fairly well. It would take so little for her to show off what she had. Oh, what does she have? What does she have? Oh, there... Was that a teasing glint in her eye? Lizzie's smile widened just a bit, and she reclassified the girl as a minor threat. Just a tiny one. "Hey, sorry to interrupt. It's Lizzie, right? Stand up straight." "That's right. Nice to meet you." She responded politely as they introduced themselves, only tracking the information for future reference. Once putting on a friendly mask had been difficult for her, an imitation of something she'd only observed. Now she could fake it more easily, mirroring real emotions she had when she was with him. Oh, good, she does feel emotion. It irritated her to waste smiles on random people who didn't matter, though, so as soon as possible, Lizzie encouraged them to get to the point. "Boy, we're trying to start a social thing for other couples on campus. They may be about the same age, but hanging out with single college kids just isn't the same, you know? You know how it is when you're in a couple, and no one else is in a couple, and they don't get what it's like to be in a couple, but we do, because we're in a couple and you're in a couple, so let's do couple stuff as couples. Separate couples, but couples, program, coupling. We don't have many people yet, so if you have any ideas, we're open to them. Either of you, your husband's name is John, right? Are they married? Why did she know his name? Are they married, or are they just together? I can't remember if they got married. They're married, fuck it. Lizzie's smile became brittle as she stared over the girl again, searching for the slightest tick that might give her away. She played it off like she wasn't sure about his name, but she knew Lizzie was sure of it. Perhaps her analysis of their threat was wrong. She dismissed them as a couple, but neglected to consider how impure most love was. This girl might ignore her partner and target John. Fuck it, they're beards. They're each other's beards. They're not even a couple. They're just pretending to be a couple so they can infiltrate other couples. You see? Lizzie's on top of it. No, Lizzie's probably not on top of it. Or she could be. I don't know. It's a weird game. It could go anywhere. Or they could be one of those sexually adventurous couples she'd read about, prowling for other couples. Like, Lizzie had not given a single real thought to the subject until that moment when bloody hatred crawled clawed itself out of her soul. Just as she was about to let loose those emotions... Just as she was about to let those emotions leak out onto her face, Lizzie heard the melody again over the beating of her heart. Sad but calm. She wasn't sure what John would say to her, but the thought of him soothed the growing rage. It was also possible that the girl hadn't wanted to seem too forward, like they had been tracking them. Checking their faces more carefully, Lizzie saw hints of nervousness and forced casualness. She set aside her main concern, flagging it as a potential problem for future consideration. This dude, we've got two very different... This girl, she is like all up in the business. This dude looks like he would rather be any fucking where than where he is right now. He'd rather be on another planet. Only a tiny fraction of a second had passed. Lizzie gave them both an apologetic smile. I'm glad this all happened in the fraction of a second, because it was minutes where I live. That's very kind of you, but it's hard for us to have much of a social life. We're trying to get our degree as quickly, because we need to get the fuck out of Dodge. Oh, that's a shame. The offer's still open, though. Yeah, like, if he had just said that for real, it looked like he would have barely mumbled that crap. Let your husband know, okay? Alright, will do. With that, Lizzie brushed past them as quickly as she could without seeming rude. Despite the potential threat and new source of danger to consider, she also felt a little warm. People thought that they were married. They were often together on campus, but Lizzie had thought she'd restrain the majority of her affection for when they were alone. No, I'm sure you didn't. The warmth drained away slowly as Lizzie went about her business, though. They still weren't married. John was willing to tie the knot, but the thought of it made her heart leap into her chest. Okay, so they're not married. It had nothing to do with the idea of being with him. Lizzie berated herself for the very thought, and everything to do with how she was sure that the wedding would draw bad luck to them somehow. At first, she hadn't wanted to get married because she was afraid that the official record would draw Koitek down on them somehow. Oh yes, Koitek. They're still a problem. Yeah, and usually marriages have official announcements and papers and all this bullshit, so if there was a government agency that perhaps you were wanted by and had assaulted some of their members... Maybe don't make a big deal. Niagara Falls is probably a good place to get married. But over 2 years hadn't passed since the violent incident, and it was clear that they'd had escaped. Enrolling in college hadn't drawn any negative attention either, so it was safe for them to get married. And yet something could go wrong. Something would go wrong. Even if they didn't invite anyone, she was sure that someone would ruin their day, and while no one could possibly ruin their relationship, she would only have one wedding day, and she wanted it to be perfect. Oh, so she is like every other woman in that regard. Suddenly, the people around her were too many, faceless, soulless creatures moving past her indifferently. The drone of their voices drowned out the melody. Stopping in place, Lizzie frowned, struggling to regain it, but his melody had drifted out of her mind, and no amount of thinking about the joy she felt with him would bring it back. Checking the time, Lizzie decided she'd had enough before she needed to get to class. Normally, she'd preferred to arrive early, but that was no longer her priority. The gentle buzz of class, which she usually found passable, if a pale second to being with him, would now only disrupt her. It was difficult to hold herself back, but Lizzie managed to sprint across campus no faster than an ordinary runner. This wasn't the first time, and someone from the track team had actually tried to recruit her. Well, that's not a bad thing. That was unacceptable. The track uniforms were flattering, but everyone would be wearing them. Of course, he would come out to the events to be supportive, but that meant his eyes would be assaulted by the entire female track team. That could not be allowed. It's not healthy. This is not healthy. This is so unhealthy. This is jealousy to the... Hey, my first choice. Kill the... Oh, I didn't do that. Watch this. Okay, I'm going to put my mouse down in the left corner. I did not do that. Watch. Hold on. Mouse left. Mouse. Hands up. That's a new feature. Oh, no. Oh, God, this is going to be... Kill the entire track team just to be safe. Let it go. Let it go. Lizzie, John would want you to let it go. Oh my god! Okay, hold on. Shit, I lost my mouse. No. Yep. John would want... Oh my god, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be such a problem. That mouse acts on its own. Lizzie gripped her forehead with both hands, forcing the thought away. She didn't need to do that anymore. She didn't need to kill the whole track team. The hollowness within her grew and grew as she left campus. Fortunately, their little apartment was nearby. A split home provided as housing for couples. It had taken serious work to obtain one despite not being married, as the fools in admissions thought there was a chance that she and John might break up. No. That's just college life, babe. It's hard to get a dorm room. You're lucky if you get one with one roommate. They'll put 5 of you in there if they have to, believe me. Housing is limited. Since it was 2:52, John was likely to be reading for a class. He had referenced a paper being due soon, but he never went down to the computer lab until she was in class. After all, he knew that she might need him. His consideration made a warm glow spread through Lizzie, but that wasn't enough. She needed to see him. She had her key in her hand as she approached the door, but it was already unlocked, almost as if he had known. Lizzie threw it open and rushed inside. Please, Jesus, don't be cheating on her. I can't handle that. With the entire track team. John sat on the couch reading a textbook. He looked perfect. Oh, look it! We're playing as Lizzie right now. This is the first time we've actually really got to see what we were. Because last time in the game we played as John, and you never really got to see yourself except for like the back of your dead-ass head after Lizzie had killed you several times. So, look it, we're so handsome! Maybe. Or if we play as Lizzie this whole time, then look it, he's so handsome! Cool. He looked perfect, and when he glanced up at the noise and saw her there, gasping for breath with her eyes wild, he just gave a comforting smile. Everything all right, Lizzie? No! The track team's gonna seduce you! Of course it is. I just forgot a book I need for class. It's not normal. She swept up to him and wrapped her arms around his shoulders to give him a slow kiss. The sight of him had calmed her considerably, and Lizzie tried to keep the desperation out of the kiss. Yes, this warm intimacy with him was what she needed. There was no sense giving him anything to worry about. She had found him, her perfect person. Lizzie drew back slightly and rested her forehead against his, her heart filled with warmth and his melody strong in her mind once again. I love you, Lizzie. It made her heart flutter just as much as the first time he'd said it. I love you too, John, more than anything. But as happy as she was to reply, she sensed something wasn't quite right. There was a bit of tension in his eyes. That's fucking straight up tension. Was he carrying some weight? Depression? Had someone done something to him? Okay, again, if this is your first time here, before the last one, John significantly, this is spoiler-rich as shit, John significantly has depression. When we played as him, that was all he had. It was almost like the tables were flipped. If you have seen it, recap. But John had like some major depressive issues where like Lizzie kind of brought him back. So in a way they kind of had their own issues, but they managed to come together. And it's like a codependency. It's probably not healthy, but it fucking works for him. And you know what? They love each other, and I'm not going to stop it. And I'm not going to try and stop it. But those eyes are like super uncomfortable eyes. If I saw someone looking at me like that, I'd be like, okay, there's a talk needs to be had. No, Lizzie realized that wasn't it. He was looking at her with concern, having sensed some part of her neediness. It was wonderful that he was so attentive, but the idea that she could have caused him any pain broke her heart. Is there anything you want to talk about? Encourage him, bring up something else, ask indirectly, explain fully. Oh, this is tougher. This is tougher. There shouldn't be any secrets in this relationship. I don't want to avoid the topic. Look, every time these games end, these games take such fucking weird branches. I'm going to go ahead and explain fully. I feel like I've been in this relationship long enough that I should know that it seems like the truth, every time you try and hide shit, it just doesn't work with these guys. So I'm just going to explain it. Well, there was this couple. She explained the encounter, hesitating a moment to give him her full thoughts, but eventually sharing. As expected, he wasn't disturbed by her fears and didn't tell her she was wrong. John had been through too much with her, after all. You think it was nothing unusual? Judging from what you said, they just sound lonely to me. They probably just want to find people they have something in common with. Maybe. But even if that's true, I still don't want them anywhere near us. They're probably stupid, evil people, John. All we need is the two of us. No. Okay. Sorry. I thought there was something back there. There's not. He smiled ruefully, but there was real affection in his expression, too. John pulled her into a quick embrace and squeezed her tight. If that's how you feel, we don't need to interact with other people. I kind of just want to keep my head down and graduate anyway. Lizzie agrees. She cuddled with him for a moment longer, nestling her head against his chest, then reluctantly pulled back, watching her hair as it clung to him. Though she longed to stay, she knew that it was better to go to class. Maximizing time in the short term would only hinder them in their long-term objectives. She wanted as much of him as she could possibly get. Lizzie headed to their bedroom and traded one spiral notebook for another, feeling a moment of guilt at the deception. But no, it was better this way. She could take the burden onto herself and leave his life lighter. She left with a kiss and a cheery wave, but then crept around the side of the apartment. She had left a little earlier than necessary to arrive in class on time for this very purpose. From the perfect angle, she could see him through the window, going back to his book, studying so seriously to help them have a better life together. Lizzie didn't try and hide the broad smile on her face, just spent a while watching him. Okay, see, I know that it sounds romantic and cute, and it's like, oh, she's watching him, like, oh, that's so sweet, she loves him so much. That's unhealthy! You gotta be a person. You can't just, like, smother people all the time. You gotta let people breathe. Could you imagine what would happen if, like, some random saleswoman or, like, co-ed or something like that had just happened to knock on their door and he opened it? She would just, like, fly in there like crazy. There was less need to watch him now that they were together, but she still enjoyed it. Once she had been observed, and the other girl had made the despicable assumption that Lizzie was concerned that he would cheat on her, as if such a thing was possible. Oh, once she had been observed by him. Oh, no, once she had been observed, and the other girl made the despicable assumption that Lizzie was concerned. Okay, so one time a girl saw him and was like, "What? That's crazy. What are you worried, that she's going to cheat on you?" As if such a thing was possible, as if she needed any reason except to look at him. Yeah, well, she did like to observe him sometimes to make sure he wasn't sad again. John's depression was mostly under control now that they had abandoned the awful Koitek medicine, but she knew it was a part of him that needed to be watched. The thought of his inner sadness made Lizzie want to run back inside and kiss him again, forget class, and just spend the time making love until he looked happy and relaxed. Reluctantly, Lizzie pulled herself away and headed toward the lecture hall. John was mentally healthy. He wouldn't forget about her love just because she was away for a little while. She'd made sure of that. That sounds like a threat! She arrived just a little late, but it was relaxed university, and no one cared too much. Lizzie carefully set her books. I can't read no more. Carefully set out her books and focused on the lesson. There were worse things than classes. If the universe declared that she couldn't spend every single moment with him, she needed something else to fill her time. With a few exceptions like psychology, classes weren't obnoxious at all. A few even provided knowledge that might have utility in the future. Well, that's good. That's what they're supposed to do. And all of it had some utility in getting them closer to their degrees. Once, it had been difficult for Lizzie to think about such long-term plans, but now she could see how both of them earning degrees would help them create the life they wanted. But after that, things became more tangled in her mind. She wanted to be with him, she wanted whatever he wanted, but he was convinced that they should take jobs in the industry, play some small role in preventing pharmaceutical giants like Koitek from doing anything as terrible as they'd done at their old high school. Or the experiment that had been done that led to Lizzie's existence. The idea that John wanted to make sure there would never be anyone else like her, that she would be the only one. It made her tingle all over. She didn't think he would approve of that thought, but she liked it so much that she kept it to herself. Okay, John wants to keep people from being abused by pharmaceutical companies, not make sure there's not more than... It's not all about you. Lizzie. Whoa. But the idea of getting involved with Koitek again, even indirectly, still left her uncomfortable. She wanted what he wanted, of course, a life together. They would have that, no matter what they chose. It would be fine. For once, Lizzie set such thoughts aside and focused fully on class. And that's where I'm going to stop. I'm going to leave it right there before anything falls apart. Because it happens quick in these games. I'm a witness. So we're going to let it be. She's going to be calm. She's going to focus on class. And that's the first episode of Crimson Gray Dusk to Dawn. Or Dusk Till Dawn. I'm not quite sure. I'll get it right. But here we are again. John and Lizzie. We're going through it. We got to ride or die, bitch. Let's go. So, thank you guys for coming back to OneRoomOver Gaming. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Crimson Gray. And there'll definitely be more. And, yeah. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, or don't. Your life. I'm not going to force you to do anything. But, until next time, you guys know where I'll be right here, OneRoomOver, playing games for you. And I'm out of here. So, I'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good life. Love you. Bye.